We're live from New Delhi. You're watching TT India News, India's voice to the world. I'm Lipakshi Khurana. Coming up in the next hour. Tech shares tumble across the US and Europe as China's low-cost DeepSeek sparks worries about the AI race. Trump says the app is a wake-up call for the US industry. Trump calls on the US Congress to boost funding for border security as military reinforces barrier with Mexico. Mexico readies giant tent shelters for the possible influx. Trump says Microsoft eyeing TikTok bid with app's future in US unclear. India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi will inaugurate the Make in Odisha Conclave 2025 in Bhubaneswar, aims to position the eastern state as the leading investment destination and industrial hub in India. Prime Minister Narendra Modi will inaugurate the 38th National Games in Dehradun with a focus on sustainability. The theme for the National Games this year is Green Games. Well, on to the details now. Global tech stocks slumped on Monday as Chinese AI startup DeepSeek emerged as a formidable competitor. Shares in major tech firms in the United States and Japan have tumbled as the industry takes stock of the challenge from DeepSeek. This led the tech-heavy Nasdaq to fall 3.1% on Monday. Nvidia was the Nasdaq's biggest drag, with its shares tumbling just under 17% and marking a record one-day loss in market capitalization for a Wall Street stock. The Nasdaq's next biggest drag was chipmaker Broadcom Inc., which finished down 17.4%, followed by ChatGPT backer Microsoft, which fell 2.1%, and then Google parent Alphabet, which ended down 4.2%. Japanese firm SoftBank, a key investor in US President Donald Trump's announcement of a new $500 billion venture to build infrastructure for artificial intelligence in the United States, lost more than 8%. In Europe, Dutch chip equipment maker ASML ended Monday's trading with its share price down by more than 7%, while shares in Siemens Energy, which makes hardware related to AI, had plunged by a fifth. Chinese startup DeepSeek launched a free AI assistant last week, which drew widespread attention in global AI circles after tests showed its V3 large language model outperformed those of OpenAI and Meta, despite a smaller development budget and plans to charge users a lot less. By Monday, the assistant had overtaken US rival ChatGPT in downloads from Apple's App Store. While reacting on the development, US President Donald Trump on Monday said the low-cost Chinese AI model DeepSeek was a wake-up call for US firms. Trump, however, said the shock could also be positive for Silicon Valley by forcing it to innovate more cheaply.
The release of DeepSeek AI from a Chinese company should be a wake-up call for our industries that we need to be laser-focused on competing to win, because we have the greatest scientists in the world. So I would say that's a positive. That could be very much a positive development. So instead of spending billions and billions, you'll spend less and you'll come up with, hopefully, the same solution.
While on TikTok, Trump on Monday said Microsoft was in talks to acquire the social media app shortly after it went dark last week. He further suggested that he would like to see a bidding war over the popular platform. TikTok, which has about 170 million American users, was briefly taken offline just before a law requiring its Chinese owner ByteDance to either sell it on national security grounds or face a ban took effect on January 19th. Trump, after taking office on January 20th, signed an executive order seeking to delay by 75 days the enforcement of the law. And DD India's Anil Thomas joins us for more on this. Well, Anil, good morning. Is this a wake-up call for the US and the tech companies?
Well, good morning, Lipakshi. Well, very much on the same lines. It's a wake-up call, and I would say DeepSeek R1 is artificial intelligence Sputnik moment for the world. You know, it's shook the world, and I think just 2 weeks into its downloads, as one of the #1 loud downloads, it's overtaken ChatGPT, clearly indicates the plus that it holds. And purely in terms of cost, you know, roughly around just the training part of, you know, any of the US-based AI models that have been developed, that's, you know, by Microsoft, Meta, or for that matter, even OpenAI, the basic training has cost roughly around 100 million as compared to this Chinese model of DeepSeek that's come up at a rough cost of around 5 million. So that talks about how technology has been used well, talent has been pooled well, and talent used in the right direction. Because how do you match costs 5 million to 100 million? Purely in terms of understanding for the layman, let me put it this simply. You know, you go to any of these AI open source ChatGPT, or for that matter Copilot, Gemini that is available. When you type in something, it breaks the word. Let's take our channel's logo itself, DD India, India's national broadcaster. It would break it into DD India, India's national broadcaster. What DeepSeek does is it takes it in one sentence, DD India, India's national broadcaster. That's the power that it holds. The power of understanding the back end is pretty strong, and the back end is what makes any company rise and shine. And I think DeepSeek does that to a very large extent. It's a wake-up call for American tech industries, looking at, you know, the low cost and the advancement purely in terms of technology that it brings about. And I think all the investment that America has made, especially in artificial intelligence, Trump's first move as president was investing in that 500 billion you know, AI source or AI window along with Japanese companies. But this particular move is surely a disruptor, I would say. It's a disruptor. It's taken the world by storm. And look at, you know, a company like Nvidia that's lost close to 600 billion today on the stock exchange. You know, that speaks volumes. If putting it in an Indian context, look at a Reliance, or for a matter Adani, companies like them who have a valuation of close to 140 billion, close to 200 billion that Reliance holds.
Right.
So the wiping off has been that immense. You know, it's shaken the market and it's taken the world by storm. And I think we'll slowly have to wait, because it's an open source. So all the coding is available for all the coders to come out and watch. And I think that's where the game would become interesting, because China has taken the bull by its horns and decided to come to the party. This is also the Chinese Lunar New Year that begins from today, the 28th of Jan. So it's come on the eve of the Chinese Lunar New Year, and I think it's a great disruptor, at least in the world of artificial intelligence.
Right, Anil. If we talk about the timing especially, what could this be connected to as the US tries to checkmate China?
Well, US trying to checkmate China was something that was very much on Trump's agenda before he took over. He spoke about tariffs in the range of close to 10 to 60%, especially the harshest amongst the three, Mexico, Canada, and China. He meant China with close to 60% of tariffs that could be coming their way. But I think this move by China, or this move by the Chinese company, is a great disruptor, I would say. It puts the US, you know, rather than move 2 steps forward, it pushes US 2 steps behind. One. Secondly, the big pressure on ByteDance, the company that owns TikTok, you know, to sell 50% of its stake. All the potential buyers. You have Oracle, the top tech company there, along with Elon Musk, and the third player there. All three have lost immensely in this tech meltdown that we've seen on the NASDAQ, especially in the US market. So this has wiped a lot of their wealth off the table. It leaves them on jittery ground, but they still hold the potential to come together and make a combined bid to take over 50% of it, or maybe a shared model that works out between, you know, either of the two companies, or one company still having the power to go, you know, full throttle and to bid for TikTok. But having said that, that's a long way away. This surely is a disruptor that's taken the world by storm, a disruptor that's hit the tech markets in America, you know, hard. Because when you have wiped off that kind of capital from the market, it surely does not go well with the investors, and especially AI coming into play. and disrupting the market is not something that you have expected. So people expected. This is a march that China has taken, ongoing step by step with American tech companies. And I think this particular move that they have done, maybe they have marched an inch ahead as compared to the US tech giants.
Right, Anil, a disruptor indeed. Thank you so much for all those details. And moving on, just a week after taking charge as the US president for the second time, Donald Trump signed 4 executive orders on Monday that reverses several Biden administration initiatives related to the military. The first order signed by Trump was an executive order reinstating members of the military who were terminated or forced to separate because of the vaccine mandates. The second was an executive order establishing a process to develop an American Iron Dome, a comprehensive missile defense shield to land the American homeland. The third executive order that President Trump signed relates to eliminating gender radicalism in the military, while the fourth is about eliminating DEI set-asides and DEI officers within the military. In addition, those items, Trump signed a proclamation commemorating the 80th anniversary of the liberation of Auschwitz. Well, also, the U.S. military has deployed Marines to the U.S.-Mexico border to reinforce the barrier and curb illegal immigration. The move is part of the Trump administration's efforts to address the issue. The deployment of Marines to the border has sparked controversy, with some critics arguing that it is a militarization of the border. However, U.S. officials maintain that the move is necessary to ensure national security and enforce immigration laws. While Mexican authorities are preparing for potential deportations by setting up temporary shelters in Ciudad Juárez, these shelters will have the capacity to house thousands of people and should be ready in a matter of days. In a strategy called Mexico Embraces You, authorities will provide deported Mexicans with food, temporary housing, medical care, and assistance in obtaining identity documents at site. Nearly 5 million Mexicans are living in the United States without authorization right now. And U.S. President Donald Trump forged ahead with military deportations flights on Monday, sending another plane load of migrants to Guatemala a day after coming to the brink of a trade war with Colombia after it refused to let C-17 aircraft land. The aircraft landed in Guatemala on Monday afternoon after a flight from Texas had 64 people on board. The flight is the third to have successfully landed in Guatemala since the start of the military deportation flights last week. To date, Guatemala appears to be the only country to have received military flights with migrants. The use of U.S. military aircraft to carry out deportation flights is part of Pentagon's response to Trump's national emergency declaration on immigration last week. Well, also, the Trump administration has put on leave about 60 senior career officials at the U.S. Agency for International Development after Washington put a sweeping freeze on U.S. aid worldwide. The administration on Saturday urged USAID staff to help transform how Washington allocates aid around the world in line with Trump's America First policy and threatened disciplinary action for any staff ignoring its orders. The State Department officially announced the implementation of the freeze on Sunday. Well, it came after U.S. President Donald Trump signed an order last Monday temporarily suspending foreign assistance programs for 90 days pending reviews of their funding. USAID-funded programs help millions of people around the world fight against HIV, AIDS, and provide support for everything from access to clean water, healthcare, infrastructure, and children's health. Meanwhile, United Nations Secretary General Antonio Guterres on Monday called for the United States to consider additional exemptions.
Secretary General notes with concern the announcement of a pause in U.S. foreign assistance. He calls for additional exemptions to be considered to ensure the continued delivery of critical development and humanitarian activities for the most vulnerable communities around the world. Those lives and livelihoods depend on this support. The Secretary General looks forward to engaging with the new United States administration on the provision of much-needed development support to people grappling with the most difficult challenges confronting the developing world. The United States is one of the largest aid providers, and it is vital that we work constructively to jointly shape a strategic push forward.
And still to come in DD India News Hour. Denmark announces $2 billion Arctic security plan. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky meets French President Emmanuel Macron in Poland. And Storm Herminia triggers devastating flooding in western France. Thousands evacuated amid red alert.
What's highest on industry's wish list, if I have to ask you?
So highest in the industry's growth list is to see how we can, on the day the budget gets presented, we are able to say that this is a budget focused on growth. Right. So I would think that the private investments going forward, bolstered, as you said very rightly, that the public capex must continue, private capex will definitely pick up.
Welcome back. You're watching DD India News. I'm Lipakshi Khurana, and moving on. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky meets French President Emmanuel Macron in Poland, discussing potential increased support for Kyiv. The meeting takes place during events commemorating the liberation of the Auschwitz-Birkenau concentration camp. The two leaders discussed the possibility of France providing additional military aid to Ukraine, including more advanced weaponry and equipment to help counter Russian advances. Macron expressed France's continued commitment to supporting Ukraine's sovereignty, adding that Europe's stability depended on the outcome of the Russian invasion. Well, Denmark revealed plans to invest 14.6 billion Danish crowns to boost its military presence in the Arctic on Monday, responding to U.S. President Donald Trump's renewed interest in controlling Greenland, a semi-autonomous Danish territory. Defense Minister Troels Lund Poulsen said that the broad political agreement includes funding of 3 new Arctic Navy vessels, 2 additional long-range drones and satellites for improved surveillance. Following more than a decade of drastic cuts in defense spending, last year Denmark allocated 190 billion Danish crowns for its military over a 10-year span, some of which will be for the Arctic. And Spanish Prime Minister Pedro Sanchez met with NATO Secretary General Mark Rutte at Madrid's Moncloa Palace on Monday. Rutte urged NATO members to exceed the 2% defense spending goals, citing new challenges that make it insufficient. NATO figures show Spain spent $22.27 billion on defense in 2024, the 10th largest contribution, but it amounts to only 1.2% of its GDP, the lowest in relative terms among NATO allies. While NATO figures show that the U.S. spent 3.38% of GDP last year on defense. Well, a tiny silver fish, which is an important food source in the North Sea, will take center stage on Tuesday as the European Union and Britain square off over post-Brexit fishing rights. The clash at the Hague-based Permanent Court for Arbitration also marks the first courtroom trade battle between the 27-member trading bloc and Britain since it left the EU in 2020. Brussels has dragged London before the PCA following a decision last year to ban all commercial fishing of sand eels in British waters because of environmental concerns. Brussels has accused London of failing to keep to commitments made under the landmark Trade and Cooperation Agreement, which gave the EU access to British waters for several years during a transition period after London's exit. And at least 17 people were killed in clashes in the Eastern Democratic Republic of Congo's besieged city of Goma. Nearly 370 were also wounded as the Congolese military fought to hold off M23 forces backed by the Rwandan army. Artillery fire and gunshots echoed across the major hub in the DRC's mineral-rich east. As Kigali said, 5 civilians were killed across the Rwandan border. Well, hundreds of thousands of people displaced by recent fighting or earlier conflict have sought refuge in Goma and in surrounding camps. The arrival of M23 rebels in the city risks causing a new displacement and humanitarian crisis. The capture of Goma marked a significant escalation in the conflict, with gunfire and looting reported throughout the city. Also, the M23 resurfaced in late 2021 after years of dormancy and began seizing large swathes of North Kivu province. But fighting with the Congolese military has intensified since early this year in the latest chapter of the internal and cross-border violence which has dogged the eastern DRC for 3 decades. Well, the Rwandan government evacuated UN staff members and their families from the Democratic Republic of Congo on Tuesday in response to escalating violence as rebel group M23 sweeps through the country. Evacuees were taken to Kigali Pele Stadium before being moved by various hotels by bus. The United Nations has called for an immediate end to the offensive, but the situation remains tense as thousands of residents flee their homes, fearing further violence. Kenyan President William Ruto said Congolese President Felix Tshisekedi has his Rwandan counterpart Paul Kagame would attend a crisis summit on Wednesday. The African Union's Peace and Security Council is due to meet on Tuesday to discuss the escalating crisis. Well, Kinshasa has accused Kigali of wanting to get hold of the region's mineral wealth, including gold, an accusation that Rwanda denies. Also, U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio also spoke with Tshisekedi and reiterated Washington's respect for the sovereignty of the DRC and agreed on the need to restart talks between the DRC and Rwanda as soon as possible. Well, at least 5 people were killed in a shooting at a plumbing equipment warehouse in San Juan in Puerto Rico on Monday. The incident occurred during a meeting at the warehouse. The local report said that the victims comprised 2 women and 3 men, one of whom was the gunman and reportedly died by suicide. The police were seen removing bodies from the scene of the shooting as the victims' relatives mourned nearby. And moving on, a boat sinking off Chile's southern coast resulted in death of 6 and 32 survivors. The authorities issued a statement indicating that the boat was over its load capacity, lacked appropriate safety equipment, and the captain had violated protocol by not being accompanied by a trained boat operator. Authorities have detained the boat's captain, who may face manslaughter charges. And the 5th Joint Project Monitoring Committee meeting between India and Nepal was held in Nepal's Kathmandu on Monday. Both sides reviewed progress, acknowledged successful project completions, and agreed to expedite remaining projects. Since October 2023, India has handed over 61 projects, including schools, health centers, and cultural heritage sites worth NPR 508.57 crore, positively impacting Nepal's socio-economic development. Well, India committed to $50 million in grant assistance for Nepal's post-earthquake reconstruction in 2015. The funds were allocated to housing, education, health, and cultural heritage sectors. And Nepal's former Home Minister and President of the Rashtriya Swatantra Party, Rabi Lamachane, has been released on bail of ₹10 million in a cooperative fraud case by the District Court in Rupandehi in Nepal. Lamichahe is accused of cooperative fraud in the Batwal-based Supreme Cooperative. The court has set the next hearing date, which is the 10th of March this year. Lamichahe has already paid 22.5 million rupees in bail in 3 districts, with cases still pending in 2 more. And moving on, homes and streets were flooded in western France and in around the city of Rennes after Storm Herminia brought heavy rainfall to the region of Brittany. Amid the chaos, rescuers evacuated flooded residents in western France. France's National Weather Agency placed a red alert due to the risk of major flooding in Brittany. The flooding has caused major disruptions to daily lives, with roads closed, public transport halted, and several businesses forced to shut down. The situation in Brittany remains critical, with officials continuing to monitor the region for further developments. Also, heavy snow blanketed several regions in North Korea. The snowfall has been particularly intense along the country's east coast, where temperatures have plummeted, leading to harsh conditions. Severe cold and snow fell or are expected to continue in some of the country's east coast area until Tuesday, as a low-pressure zone moves east. Residents are advised to stay indoors. Harsh weather is to continue. Well, Southern California is still grappling with major wildfires despite the possibility of isolated showers on Tuesday. The Palisades fire, which has burned over 23,400 acres, is 94% contained as on Monday. It has destroyed 6,834 structures and damaged 1,016, with 12 confirmed fatalities. The LA Basin, especially coastal areas, remains under threat as firefighters continue to battle the blaze. Mandatory evacuation zones have been reopened to residents, while the Hux fire is 95% contained after burning 10,400 acres, with evacuation orders now downgraded to warning. The Aten fire, one of the most destructive, is 98% contained after burning over 14,000 acres, destroying 9,418 structures and claiming 17 lives. Los Angeles and surrounding areas remain on high alert, with recovery efforts still on. And as Rio de Janeiro grapples with an intense heat wave, residents are turning to unconventional methods to find relief from the scorching temperatures. Maximum temperature reached up to 39 degrees Celsius, leading thousands of people to crowd the beaches, especially in the southern part of the city. With the ongoing heat, locals are finding new ways to stay comfortable and make it through the sizzling days. The heat in Rio turned so scorching that restaurants across the city have added outdoor showers, giving customers a chance to cool off from the sweltering heat. And moving on, Greek farmers have taken to the country's main highways with their tractors as thousands of farmers, angry at high production cost, protested in Athens. The farmers demanded tax-free fuel, debt forgiveness, measures against foreign competition and speedier compensation for damage from natural disasters. Protests that began last week have been growing each day, with hundreds of tractors being parked next to roads around the main national highway in central and northern Greece that links the north and south of the country. And still to come, indeed, India News Hour. India-UAE strengthened ties as EAM held key talks with UAE, highlighting progress at Republic Day celebration. Maha Kumbh draws over 150 million devotees ahead of Amrit Snan amid cold wave and fog. And India honors the legacy of Lala Lajpat Rai, the Lion of Punjab, and a symbol of freedom struggle.
What is behind this bonhomie between India and Indonesia? What are the main factors driving this relationship in different dimensions? and what is the impact of this special friendship on our region.
So in my opinion, India is really great.
It's time for the South country to become the leader of the world, not from West.
I think Indian's culture is famous in Indonesia.
Indonesia and India should be a natural partner that we can build on a stronger foundation.
Geopolitics and trade deals. Economic challenges amid
Welcome back. You're watching DD India News. I'm Lipakshi Kurana, and time now for a quick recap of the headlines. Tech shares tumble across the US and Europe as China's low-cost DeepSeek sparks worries about the AI race. Trump says the app is a wake-up call for the US industry. Trump calls on the US Congress to boost funding for border security as military reinforces barrier with Mexico. Mexico readies giant tent shelters for the possible influx. Trump says Microsoft eyeing TikTok bid with app's future in US unclear. India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi will inaugurate the Make in Odisha Conclave 2025 in Bhubaneswar, aims to position the eastern state as the leading investment destination and industrial hub in India. Prime Minister Narendra Modi will also inaugurate the 38th National Games in Dehradun with a focus on sustainability. The theme for the National Games this year is Green Games. Well, Prime Minister Narendra Modi is scheduled to visit East Indian state Odisha on Tuesday to inaugurate the Utkarsh Odisha Make in Odisha Conclave 2025.
Bhubaneswar, the capital of the eastern Indian coastal state of Odisha, is all decked up, the cultural exuberance on full display. The state is all set to highlight its industrial prowess to attract domestic as well as international investors. During the two-day Utkarsh Odisha, Make in Odisha Conclave 2025, it starts January 28 in Bhubaneswar. Prime Minister Narendra Modi will inaugurate the flagship economic and business conclave during his visit to Bhubaneswar on Tuesday. The event will primarily focus on three themes of Startup Odisha, Skilled in Odisha, and Women Entrepreneurship.
We have more than 8,000 delegates who have already registered for the event. Almost 2,000 of them have already arrived at Bhubaneswar and are very excited about the entire event. More importantly, this time, because we are working very closely with Government of India, Invest India, DPIIT and other central ministries, we have the presence of industrialists from across sectors. We have 16 countries participating for the first time. And this obviously is because of the keen interest being taken by our Honorable Prime Minister in Purvodaya, in Eastern India, his Look East policy.
The conclave, a key step in achieving the vision of Samruddh Odisha 2036 and contributing to the national aspiration of Viksit Bharat 2047, will highlight Odisha's immense potential as a key player in India's industrial growth story.
So it's invest in Odisha and future of Odisha. We all are excited. Tata Power is always a partner and a big distribution company with government for electricity. So we all are very excited to be the part of the future of Odisha.
The event will focus on 5 key sectors: IT, renewable energy, textiles, chemicals and food processing. 12 countries, including Australia, Malaysia, Japan, Germany, Poland and Cuba, have been invited as countries of focus to participate in the conclave. Achievements of 60 micro, small and medium enterprises entrepreneurs aged under 40 will also be highlighted at the conclave. It will be a highlight at Utkarsh Odisha. The conclave aims to position Odisha as a global industrial hub while driving inclusive and sustainable growth. Top industry captains are also expected to participate in it.
With more than 7,500 delegates, with over 100 foreign delegates and diplomats, and India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi inaugurating it, the event is set to put Odisha on a global economic platform. With camera person Rahul Chopra, Amit Mukherjee for DD India in Bhubaneswar.
And moving on, India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi spoke with US President Donald Trump on Monday and discussed expanding and deepening cooperation on issues including security in the Indo-Pacific, the situation in West Asia and Ukraine. Both the leaders reiterated their commitment to work together for promoting global peace, prosperity and security. US President Donald Trump emphasized the importance of moving towards a fair bilateral trading relationship as well as the importance of India procuring American-made security equipment. The US is India's largest trading partner and two-way trade surpassed $118 billion in 2023-24, with India posting a surplus of $32 billion. Well, the two leaders also discussed plans for Prime Minister Modi to visit the White House, underscoring the strength of the friendship and strategic ties between the two nations. And India's External Affairs Minister, Dr. S. Jaishankar, who is on a three-day visit to UAE, held a warm and wide-ranging discussion with Deputy Prime Minister and Foreign Minister Abdullah bin Zayed Al Nahyan. The two leaders discussed the positive trajectory of the comprehensive strategic partnership and its further expansion. They also shared perspectives on the regional and global situation. Earlier, the two leaders attended India's Republic Day celebrations in Abu Dhabi. Addressing the event, Jaishankar spoke about the transformation underway in India and a journey towards developed India. He also highlighted how India-UAE relations have developed so much in the same decade. Jaishankar also appreciated the contribution of the Indian community in UAE towards forging close relationship and shaping the image of India.
Today, we have reached a stage where our aspirations are higher and our confidence greater. Prime Minister Narendra Modi has set out a national goal of achieving Viksit Bharat or developed India by 2047. If we have embarked on that quest with strong conviction, it is because in the last decade, in particular, we have witnessed achievements that tell us what is possible. Sustained growth rates, embrace of digital technology, building a modern infrastructure, strengthening human skills, and improving the quality of governance are amongst its notable features.
Well, an exhibition was also organized ahead of the cultural program in Abu Dhabi. And Indian Railways has achieved a major milestone by upgrading over 23,000 kilometers of track to support train speeds of up to 130 kilometers per hour. The development is a part of the government's broader effort to modernize the rail network, improving connectivity and reducing travel times for the passengers. The upgrades include strengthening tracks, implementing advanced signaling systems and adding safety measures like fencing at vulnerable locations. Specialized train services during periods of peak demand increased significantly by 54% compared to the previous year. In the 2024-25 fiscal year, Indian Railways reported a 4% rise in earnings with 2% increase in capital expenditure. Indian Railways is also focusing on adopting new technologies, enhancing infrastructure and improving passenger amenities. And now to all the latest from the Maha Kumbh, the largest gathering of humans on the planet. Well, an overwhelming rush of devotees has flooded the Maha Kumbh Mela ahead of Mauni Amavasya on Wednesday. Anticipating the rush on Mauni Amavasya, the most auspicious day of the Hindu calendar, the local administration has blocked the movement of traffic towards the Mela site till January 30th. Meanwhile, over 15 million people took a dip at the confluence of the Ganga, Yamuna and Saraswati rivers on Monday. According to the statement released by the Uttar Pradesh government, over 150 million people have taken the holy dip since the commencement of the event on January 13th. Well, at the grand spectacle of Maha Kumbh, where millions gather for a sacred dip, a unique initiative is making waves. The Chit Shakti Trust has taken up the noble task of spreading India's rich culture and traditions. From their meditation oils to spiritual books, their offerings have captured widespread attention. Our correspondent Tapas Bhattacharya caught up with Ashish Vyas, Executive Manager of Chit Shakti Trust, to explore how economy, spirituality and the sense of Maha Kumbh blend into a powerful narrative.
Welcome to Maha Kumbh 2025 in Prayagraj, and this is the largest congregation, religious congregation in the world. And I give you some interesting news. In fact, I've come to this particular place, which is called Chit Shakti Trust. And the reason why I'm coming here is that the economy is also being given a major boost with the spiritual intake, with the spiritual thought process. Right now I'm this particular place. They are selling different kind of religious items. If I may say, do you have these items? Then you have some scents and other stuff which are very important when it comes to spirituality, religious activities. I have with me, what's your name, sir?
My name is Ashish Vyas.
Ashish. Mr. Ashish, we see a lot of activities here. We see a lot of stuff that you guys have made. What is the whole purpose of getting it here in Maha Kumbh?
See, when we are at Maha Kumbh, we had made an intention that we want to present to the world the products which support their spiritual practices, so that their focus goes inward. Because Maha Kumbh is all about finding your own self, residing in your own heart. So when we came here with the intention that through Chit Shakti Trust, we will provide the finest quality spiritual yoga and aroma products at appropriate cost, and become the most trusted and respected entity. So all these products that you see here start with the meditation oil, which you can use while doing any religious puja or simply doing your spiritual practices.
These books are quite spiritual in nature, giving an in-depth analysis of how the Sanatan Dharma has progressed over the years. It gives an insight in that.
These are meditation asanas. So when you do your spiritual practices or any rituals, you should sit on an asana that is made of white wool. So the white wool that we have brought here is pure quality. It's very high grade quality.
So basically going back in time, when these things were practiced in its originality, right? Am I right? These people have been talking about there is economy, there is spirituality, and at the same time it showcases India's rich culture and tradition. This is Tapas Bhattacharya for DDI India from Prayagraj.
Well, a popular association with Maha Kumbh is losing loved ones in the sea of humanity. However, this year pilgrims may be getting separated, but getting truly lost is a thing of the past. The 2025 festival has been branded the Digital Maha Kumbh by the Indian government. We tell you why in our next report by DD India correspondent Akshay Dongre from Prayagraj.
Devotees waiting patiently to get information of their friends and family members who have gotten separated at the world's largest religious congregation, Maha Kumbh in Prayagraj city in India. Over 100 million people have so far attended Maha Kumbh, and even larger number of devotees is expected to attend the congregation in the upcoming days. Amid this ocean of people, the largest concern remains to unite people who often get separated or lost in the city. To address this issue, the government has set up computerized lost and found centers that are run 24/7. These centers are using various technologies to provide respite to people, including live translation, artificial intelligence and biometric identification. 80-year-old Ram Prasad, who got lost at Kumbh, speaks to the workers at the Lost and Found Center to reunite with his family. He calls such center essential at such a large congregation. The workers at the center claim they have reunited over 1,000 people who got separated with their family members and thousands who have an item at the Maha Kumbh.
Hosting the world's largest congregation comes with its own set of challenges, and one of the key challenges is to reunite people who often get lost in such a huge gathering. Now, Kumbh is held at a place where there is a confluence of rivers, River Ganga, River Yamuna and Saraswati as well. And at the same place, this time around, the authorities have made sure that it also becomes a confluence of faith and technology to ensure a smooth Maha Kumbh experience for the several hundred million devotees that are going to come here, not only from India, but from around the world. With camera person Vinay Kumar Tiwari, I'm Akshay Dongre, DD India.
And still to come in DD India News Hour. Srikanth leads India's charge at Thailand Masters, set to face Dubovchenko in the opening round. India to take on England in third T20 match in Rajkot on Tuesday. And excitement builds as preparations for Cathay International Chinese New Year night parade begins in full swing.
Geopolitics and trade deals. Economic challenges amid development. Hard work and the path to prosperity. It's the economy always. Between walkers, money is what money does and says. Supply creates its own demand. Between the bulls pulls and bears tears. When supply chains globalization and India rises to the podium. We'll get you centered with the economic brief at 8 p.m. every Thursday on DD India.
Welcome back. You're watching DD India News Hour. Time now for some sports news. The northern Indian state of Uttarakhand is set to host the 38th edition of India's National Games from 28th of January. Prime Minister Narendra Modi will inaugurate the Games at Maharana Pratap Sports College in Dehradun, marking a significant moment for Uttarakhand's emergence as a sporting hub. This edition will feature 32 sports and 4 traditional demo events like Kala Paripatiu and Maha Kumbh. Over 10,000 athletes and officials are likely to compete in this Olympic-style event. DD India's correspondent Narayan Singh brings up updates for this mega event.
The National Games of India, a grand Olympic-style event where athletes from across the country compete for glory, is all set to kick off. This time, Uttarakhand is playing host to 2025 edition, which will run from January 28 to February 14. The games will take place across 11 cities of Uttarakhand: Haridwar, Tehri, Pauri, Rudrapur, Haldwani, Tanakpur, Pithoragarh, Almora, Sartal, Khatima and Dehradun, making it truly a statewide celebration of sports. With 32 sporting disciplines and 4 exciting demonstration events like Kalyarapayatu, Yogasana, Malkhang and rafting, the games are not just about competition. They are also a tribute to India's rich heritage and a chance to promote unique opportunities for athletes. Over 10,000 athletes, officials and coaches from states, union territories and institutional teams like services will compete in 38 medal events. 2022 Games in Gujarat mark the revival of the iconic events after a gap of 7 years. Uttarakhand's mascot this year is Molly, inspired by Monal, the state bird symbolizing region's stunning natural beauty and cultural diversity. The tagline of the 38th National Games is equally inspiring, Sankalp se Shikhar tak, from determination to the summit. So this was a brief introduction of the National Games 2025 hosted by Uttarakhand across 11 beautiful cities.
Well, India will hope to take unassailable lead when they take on England in the third T20 match in Rajkot on Tuesday. The hosts have established a commanding 2-0 lead in the 5-match series after convincing wins. They found success with a deep batting lineup and a spin-heavy bowling attack. The hosts have showcased their dominance in both batting and bowling, while England have decided to back their pace battery. They have announced an unchanged side for the third match. England have shown glimpses of brilliance but have struggled to maintain consistency, particularly against the Indian spinners. And Surma Hockey Club secured a hard-fought 5-3 victory against the Vedanta Kalinga Lancers in the Men's Hockey India League in Rourkela. Dilpreet Singh gave the Lancers the lead in the game, but Prabjot Singh restored parity for Surma. Harmanpreet Singh and Nicholas Keenan extended Surma's lead with quick-fire goals in the third quarter. However, Thierry Brinkman pulled a goal back towards the end of the quarter. Maninder Singh and Harmanpreet Singh found the back of the net to extend Surma's lead to 5-2, and even though Gursahibjit Singh pulled a goal back in dying minutes, but Surma walked away with 3 crucial points. And on to Hockey India League, the Delhi SD Pipers ended their Hockey India campaign winless as they fell to a 1-2 loss against the Shrachi Rar Bengal Tigers in Rourkela on Monday. The Pipers scored first via Thomas Domena, but their hopes of a first win in the last match were shattered as Rupinder Pal Singh and Sebastian Dokia scored within minutes of each other in the final quarter to take the Tigers to the top of the table. And former world number 1 Kidami Srikanth will lead India's charge at the Thailand Masters Badminton Tournament in Pathurwan. Srikanth will face world number 74 Daniel Dubovenko of Israel in the opening round on Wednesday. The 31-year-old Indian badminton player has not made it past the quarter-finals since reaching the semi-finals at the Swiss Open in March last year. In the women's single event, Tanya Hemant will face Salvadore Kisona of Malaysia in a round of 32 match. And Spain coach Luis de la Fuente has extended his contract until Euro 2028. Under the 63-year-old's guidance, Spain won all 7 matches to claim the 2024 European Championship title with a 2-1 victory over England in the final. De la Fuente began coaching Spain's youth teams in 2013. He was named the senior team's manager in 2022, leading them to the Nations League title the following year. Nations League champions Spain will visit the Netherlands on March 20th in the first leg of the quarter-finals. And Brazilian star Neymar and his club Al Hilal have agreed to terminate contract by mutual consent. The club expressed its thanks and appreciation to Neymar for what he has provided throughout his career with Al Hilal and wished the player success. The 32-year-old played just 7 times since joining the club in 2023. 2 months after his arrival in Riyadh, he ruptured a ligament in his left knee while playing for Brazil in a World Cup qualifier in October 2023, which kept him on the sidelines for a year. And now let's take you to Hong Kong. The vibrant streets of Tsim Sha Tsui will come alive on Wednesday when a dazzling celebration marking the first day of the year of the snake in true Hong Kong style. The Chinese New Year night parade promises to be a mesmerizing spectacle, brimming the rich traditions of this ancient festival. Take a look. Well, that's all for this edition of DD India News Hour, but let us know your thoughts on the news of the day. For those on the go, you can get all the latest news and updates from India and across the world on the DD India mobile app. The app is available on both Android and iOS platforms. Scan the QR code on the screen to download now. Well, we'll be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. I'm Lipakshi Khurana from all of us here in Delhi. Thanks for watching DD India News Hour.